Today, my guest is someone who, well, she's been pivotal actually in my health and recovery so far. And as someone for whom stress is my kryptonite, if I hadn't found EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, otherwise known as tapping, I would probably not be where I am now. And I quite likely probably not doing this podcast. So I've got so stressed beforehand. I'd have been like, oh no, it's all too much. But enough about me. My guest today is Emma Roberts from the EFT Centre, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But I hope today you'll just sit back with whatever you've got, a cup of tea or a glass of water, and you'll be open to hearing what she's got to say, because I can say from my own personal experience, it's going to be quite interesting. Emma.
Thanks, Lucinda. That's got me wanting to tap. As Lucinda said, I'm Emma Roberts. I'm co-founder of the EFT Centre in London with my colleague Sue Beer. I have been using this technique for nearly 20 years now, training people in it, and also working with individual clients. I have a full private practice in London, all on Zoom these days since COVID, which is I would never have thought I would say 3 years ago, but I wouldn't have thought it was possible, but it actually absolutely is. Working in all sorts of different areas, but my particular interest actually is in health, chronic health, serious health issues, and how we can help ourselves alongside a medical model, if that's what you choose to do. The tapping, as Lucinda and I probably discussed, is kind of, I always say, it's not proud. It goes with absolutely anything. It's a true integrative technique.
Absolutely. So, yes. And so I think what would be interesting probably is you actually tell us what tapping is, because although I'm very familiar, and as I was just discussing prior to the interview, for a lot of people who are looking for online courses at the second, they will see that as part of whatever package they buy, there is some tapping in it. But would you like to talk us through?
Okay. Well, tapping is a coming together of traditional Chinese medicine, as in acupuncture and kinesiology, using the body's energy system, which is mapped out in a meridian system. Most people are probably familiar with acupuncture. Acupuncturists will put needles into these energy meridians in specific places to kind of release tensions, whatever they're working with. With us, what we're doing is we're using literally our fingertips, and we're tapping on the end points of the energy meridians where they're closest to the surface of the skin. And the purpose of that, it's that coming together with Western psychotherapeutic psychological techniques. The purpose being to release energy blocks in the system to allow energy to flow freely. Now, a lot of people will go, oh, what's an energy block? That sounds very woo-woo to me. Actually not. You'll have experienced it completely. I think if you think about something like sitting an exam and you get maybe you get butterflies in your tummy or a tightness in your chest or something, that is a block in the energy field. That's the block in the energy system. And if you apply the tapping specifically to that or to the emotions that you're feeling, you will be able to clear that and move forward. So it's the ultimate self-help tool, really. But that's what it is. It's a coming together of Eastern and Western philosophies, really, in a neat little bundle that can be easily learnt.
Oh, absolutely. Easily learnt, but also incredibly portable, flexible, adaptable to every situation you might possibly imagine. And what was quite interesting, as you were saying, how it could be complementary to actually other choices of medical treatments and processes. And let's come back to this idea, actually. So we have these energy blocks that most of us will probably be able to relate to. And with the tapping, and I love the definition of a self-care tool, because I love this idea that we can have a self-care toolbox, and just, as and when we need them, we pick up whatever we need and we use it. But in a situation where something comes up for someone, what would happen? What would they do? What would be the kind of process? Is there a technique?
They would. Well, the techniques of the tapping. Do you want me to take you through the tapping points?
Oh, yes, please.
But what I'll do is I'll teach you the shortcut version.
Thank
The
you.
thing that people get very hung up on is the words, because what we're doing is we're tapping and then we're saying aloud what the problem state is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So actually what I'll do is I'll take you through a particular technique called constricted breathing technique, simply because anybody who's watching this will be able to follow along and get some release for themselves.
Fantastic.
Because anxiety always shows up in the chest, and we know that. We know the shortness of breath in an interview or whatever. And so everybody's got some level of that, even if you're not aware of it.
Totally.
So if we can show the tapping points mapped up around that hopefully anybody who's watching this will be able to follow along.
Brilliant.
And we call it borrow benefits. It's if you're watching this, you can borrow the benefits of Lucinda and I tapping by following us and saying the words that we say.
Excellent.
And if something sounds completely wrong to you, change the words. But
Okay.
just for an example. So this exercise, take a deep breath. In and out. And then rate that breath. This is slightly weird, but rate that breath on the scale of 0 to 10 as to if 10 is your fullest breath, how far short does that go? So for me, that would have been about a 7.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, I'd say I'd probably about a 6 or a 7, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then if you want to follow me, Lucinda, I'll go quite slowly because I can show the tapping points. The first one is on the side of your hand. Yeah, it used to be called the karate chop point, which kind of shows you where you'd be delivering a karate chop. Now known as side of the hand, which is a lot more politically correct. Okay. And then you say what we call a setup statement, which might sound a little bit American. You won't believe it, but just say it anyway. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you follow me, even though I've got this constricted breathing.
Even though I've got this constricted breathing.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though something's blocking my fullest breath.
Even though something's blocking my fullest breath.
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
You see, you're having a reaction to that phrase, which is very, very common. Very, very common. And very few people do love and accept themselves completely, but it is the ultimate aim of all therapy. So why not? Let's just say it. It's got some power. Okay. Even though I can't quite breathe fully.
Even though I can't quite breathe fully.
I am okay.
I am okay.
And the first point is at the beginning of your eyebrow, almost at the bridge of your nose. Doesn't matter which side of your face you tap down. You tap hard enough that you can feel it, but not that you're going to give yourself a bruise. And you take out the problem. So in this case, this constricted breathing.
This constricted breathing.
On the side of your eye, on the bony bit, this constricted breathing.
This constricted breathing.
Under your eye, on the bony bit again. And this is quite a sensitive point, so don't do it too hard. Can't quite breathe fully.
Can't quite breathe fully.
Under your nose, something blocking my fullest breath.
Something blocking my fullest breath.
Chin, this constricted breathing.
This constricted breathing.
This is where we call this the collarbone point. I say it's where you knot a tie because it sends a vibration along both collarbones.
Yes.
This block to my fullest breath.
Sorry, did you say this blocked my fullest breath?
This blocked my fullest breath. Yeah, that's my favourite point.
This blocked my fullest breath.
Under your arm, for the women in line with a bra strap, the men a few centimetres below the armpit. I can't quite breathe fully.
I can't quite breathe fully.
And then on the top of your head, using a kind of claw, this constricted breathing.
This constricted breathing.
Okay, we'll do one more round and then we'll check in and I'll talk about what we're doing. Okay, so back here, even though I still have some of this constricted breathing.
Even though I still have some of this constricted breathing.
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I still have some of this tightness in my breath.
Even though I've still got some of this tightness in my breath.
I'm open to the possibility I could deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I'm open to the possibility that I could deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Does that feel a bit better?
Yes. Mental note, I'll work on that later.
Okay. Even though I still can't quite breathe fully.
Even though I still can't quite breathe fully.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
And back to the eyebrow point, this remaining constricted breathing.
This remaining constricted breathing.
On the side of your eye, still can't breathe fully.
I still can't breathe fully.
And your right, everything blocking my fullest breath.
Everything blocking my fullest breath.
And your nose, this remaining constricted breathing.
This remaining constricted breathing.
Chin, remaining blocks to breathing fully.
Remaining blocks to breathing fully.
Collarbone, any emotion blocking my fullest breath.
Any emotion blocking my fullest breath.
Under one arm, remaining constricted breathing.
Remaining constricted breathing.
Top of your head, remaining can't quite breathe fully.
Remaining can't quite breathe fully.
Okay, and now take another breath and check in. Is it still a 6? Does it feel the same? Does it feel more expanded? What's going on for you?
I feel like there's more expansion in my lungs, and it's a deeper breath, and it's a better quality actually. Yeah.
Good. And you see, that's 2 rounds. Most people will be doing a lot more than that ultimately, but that's 2 rounds. And if that's all you did every day, once a day, or maybe twice a day, you'd notice a big change in yourself and your reactivity after about a month. But what we're doing there is we're doing the bit here which has got the negative problem state and then a powerful positive affirmation which you felt awkward with, and people will, but just say, I just usually just say it anyway. It doesn't, no one really believes it. And that seems to clear a path for the rest of the tapping to work. So then on the points, you're tapping literally with the problem. So it could be, in this case, this constricted breathing, could be this anger, could be this memory. We have a way of working where we do a kind of an emotional historical spring clean. Because most of our problems today, our reactivity today is based on experiences in the past. Obviously not
totally.
Health issues can be as well, actually. So I was going to say obviously not health issues, but absolutely they can be. It's, in life, shit happens.
Totally.
And the problem comes with how we react to it, how we respond to it. That's the problem, not actually what happened. Lots of people can have the same experience. Like people can have the same experience that you're going through, and you're very proactive and you get up and you do all these things. And, you're doing a podcast now. Somebody else might respond completely different to the same thing. So it's very empowering.
Oh, absolutely. And it's very kind of you to say those things about me being proactive. I appreciate that.
It's true. I have witnessed it firsthand.
The research that I'm doing for this podcast, I'm beginning to get the impression that one of the most important things for the patient to actually take on board on this journey that they are on is patient responsibility. And the EFT practice, I think, fits very nicely into that, because you don't have to go and see. Don't get me wrong; I can recommend Emma to everyone. She's excellent, but actually,
you're absolutely right. You don't have to. It's useful to see a practitioner to get started, and when you reach a block, there's only a certain distance you can go before unconscious blocks come up, and it's quite difficult to get to those on your own. But you can do so much on your own. And I agree with you. That's the most, taking responsibility for your own healing is the most important thing, I think. And that goes across the board, doesn't it? It goes across decisions, whether you're going, what model you're going to follow, what, lifestyle changes, all these things. When you have a serious health condition diagnosis, there's so much that has to kind of be looked at. And I'm absolutely not sitting here and saying, well, just tap on a few points and everything's going to be great, because we know it's much more than that. But this is an important piece that's been left out of healthcare actually for a long time, looking at the emotional responses. And it's beginning to come in now. There's a lot of integrative healthcare systems that have been set up which are including the tapping, or schools of energy psychology anyway. And that's very exciting. There's a lot more research coming out. There's some very robust research that's been replicated showing that it reduces cortisol levels dramatically. I mean, I think it's something like 40% reduction.
Brilliant. Oh.
All of which can be found on the governing body EFT International's website. It's a good research thing if anybody's listening to this or watching this who's interested in the research.
Definitely.
There is actually some serious research now, so which is exciting.
Absolutely, because I what can happen when you say to someone, "Oh, well, have you considered an alternative approach to health?" And some people like myself will just be like, "Whoa, how exciting! Let's go and have this adventure." Other people do kind of go, "Oh, yeah, it's going to get a bit sort of woo-woo," you know,
yeah, absolutely.
the rest of it. And actually, being able to see people doing the scientific research, I mean, for anyone who hasn't tried EFT, I think it is the most, you know, to actually have an experience with yourself or do a course like you offer is really incredible, because you can actually feel the change happening in your own body and mindset. And in terms of someone who's presented with a health challenge and they kind of think, oh God, you know, I'm going to be going to all of these meetings and consultations and things. You know, is EFT something that, you know, they can take with them, and you think that, you know, they'll be able to find words, or should they take notebooks, or are there any suggestions you have for
what to the actual appointment?
Yes, to actually the appointment, so they can maybe try and work out what they need to work on.
I would definitely say take somebody else, because when you go into these appointments, you're kind of already in a trauma state. Usually you're certainly in a state of heightened anxiety, and that part of your brain that thinks clearly shuts down at that point. So you kind of need somebody else, I think, if you can. Otherwise, definitely write notes. And there's a way of tapping on the sides of the nail beds, which I haven't, trying to get it on camera, which I haven't taught you. Which you can do kind of in your pocket or under the desk whilst people are talking to you. It's not as powerful as the other points, but it still is. They call it energy toning, and it's effective. If you go to our website, I don't know if you're going to link our website in or not, but it's the EFTcentre.com. We have if you look at online programs, we have a free mini course which takes you through the basics of this. Fantastic. In a way that you can follow for yourself, because what we want is everybody using it, you know. I mean, there's no shortage of clients out there, so this isn't about going for clients. It's actually about everyone being self-empowered and reaching a place of inner peace.
Totally.
Which I think will have a big impact if that were to happen in more ways than just our health.
Absolutely.
You know, the world needs this tool.
Yes. Absolutely. If only the world leaders were meditating and tapping, I'd say would feel a lot more reassured. And in terms of actually the scope of who can use tapping, can children use it as well as adults?
Children can use it, yes. I mean, it depends obviously on the age. The younger children, I would suggest that an adult who knows how to taps with them, but they can tap on teddies, or, you know, because of our mirror neurons, you tap on a teddy and actually you get the impact on yourself, bizarrely.
Wow.
You can use it with animals. I mean, the scope is it's in its infancy. It's been around for about 30 years. We're just discovering more and more things that can happen with it, and it's really exciting. Totally. And as far as training in it is concerned, you can train in it without any other background knowledge of psychology or psychotherapy. It's quite a robust training system accredited by EFT International. It's a professional training. It's not a kind of, do 2 days and then you can go out and work with the public. Absolutely not. So, you know, but if you are interested in that, that's another. I mean, I know you've done some training in it. It's another way people can go. But yeah,
brilliant.
Fire me another question.
Well, I mean, wow, we're getting through them, because really, I mean, it's things like the scientific aspect, you know, who it would affect, will it work with other sort of disciplines? Yes, it's complementary. You know, the scope, the potential of it as a self-care tool. in terms of how quickly someone might see the effect of a tapping process. So, for example, they've got a headache. It's always a good one.
Yeah. A headache, I mean, it varies. If you, there, again, I would consult the mini course for this because it's much more specific than I can talk about here, but there are specific rules for working with a physical symptom, which are location, quality, and then intensity. But when we say location, a headache is too, in EFT terms, that's too global. We want sort of this headache on my left temple and the front, or whatever. So you've got to get your words to really. It's about changing the way that we think about problems, because we think of a headache or a backache or something. Whereas actually, if you really sit back and think about them, you'll find that your whole back isn't aching, or your whole head isn't aching. There'll be a center point, if you like, a starting point, and that's what you address the tapping to. And it can change. I mean, pains are bizarre. They can go from one side of the body to the other. They can, they're changing quality and things. We call it chasing the pain. You just keep chasing it until you get stuck, and you may get stuck or it may go completely. If you get stuck, you have to look into what the emotional content underneath it is. How what's going on emotionally at the moment, what was going on when the pain started, those sorts of questions, which will take you deeper into the more unconscious material. It's not like it's forgotten material. It's just the questions to ask yourself to bring it to the surface to tap with.
Makes sense.
And people get very hung up on words. Oh, I'm going to say the wrong words. You can't get your words wrong. I can get your words wrong, but you can't get your words wrong. Just say it as it is. I love tapping and ranting, he did, she did. I'm really, whatever. You end up laughing and it actually releases it. So.
And so if someone, I was just thinking, that idea that someone would be like, oh, well, I want to heal myself. You wouldn't just sit there and go, oh, I want to heal myself. Actually, it's about deconstructing what your health condition is. And for example, I've got a family friend who's had cancer, and so for her, breathing actually is a problem, is a challenge. So we have been doing the Wim Hof breathing, but actually from the session you reminded me about the constricted breathing, and actually that's fantastic, because I can't help her with some of her other challenges, but doing that with her. So really, if someone says, oh, I've got this health condition, possibly they should sit down and maybe, I suppose a bit of me would be concerned, you're writing down all these negatives of your health condition, all the challenges you're facing. But actually then if you're going through and you're actually tapping on them to see.
Yeah. That is the key thing. It's not about just not having a moan, but going on about everything that's negative, which is what you might do in a psychotherapy thing, tell all your problems and everything, which can be re-traumatizing, which is why a lot of people leave psychotherapy. It's about, the purpose of stating the negative is to kind of address the imbalance, the energy disruption, whilst tapping. Absolutely, whilst tapping. People also go on about, oh, shouldn't we be tapping positives? Because it is counterintuitive, tapping, saying negatives out loud. But the negatives are what's getting in the way of your kind of ultimate peace and well-being. It's the negative thinking, the negative feelings, the negative sensations in your body. That's what's interrupting the flow. So it is important to tap on the negatives. You don't need to tap on the positives, because when the negatives go, the positives are there anyway, because they're always there, the positives. If you ever met a baby that's born negative, they're always there. And then stuff gets dumped on us, and the negative. Also, we're programmed to search out the negative. So the tiger doesn't eat us, for instance. But the tigers don't just appear occasionally; they're there all the time now. So we have to find a new way of managing them.
And I suppose a question that might come up is someone saying, well, hang on, you're upset about something and you're tapping on yourself. Is there a part of it which is a distraction technique? Actually, you've got this thing that's happening.
Possibly. Yeah. Honestly, I can't answer that. I don't know. It's possible that is a part of it, but I don't think it's the main part of it. They've mapped out the meridians. There's been some research using MRI scans now, imaging, which can show you the meridians and show you the impact of the tapping. So there's a lot more going on. than just distraction. But I think distraction is a part of it. I also think it's quite hypnotic, repeating and going around. It is quite trance-inducing. But all of that's great because that just takes you into a deeper state of awareness, and more material will surface in that place. But even if you use it just as a relaxation technique, it will do a huge amount of good and change work. If you want to take it much deeper, you can do the emotional spring clean, which we call the personal peace process, which we don't have time to go into now, but again is on the mini course, the free mini course to teach you how to do
which
that.
I'll definitely link to because I think many people benefit from that.
Well, but then that was the point of it. It was kind of, not everyone can afford to see a practitioner, particularly if you're going through a health condition, actually, because, finances are short. It's really difficult. But so many people can benefit from this. It's about, my passion is really teaching people somehow to do it for themselves, whether that's people who want to come and do a proper course or people who just, get in a mini course and start and have a play. The thing about it is you can't do any harm.
That's brilliant, yes.
I mean, the worst that can happen is nothing happening. That's just not what happens.
No, that really is not an extreme, is it?
No,
in the world of things we're faced with. So really, there is just so much possibility, isn't there, to this self-care tool?
There is.
It's a very accessible thing.
I mean, it can, in the field of health and healing, which is kind of where I suppose where we're both at, but from slightly different areas. It's kind of, there isn't anything to it. It goes alongside everything, and sometimes if you're tapping on something, a thought will come up or a feeling will come up, and it'll feel like it's overwhelming you. It's the thing. People will tend to do then is say, "Oh, I can't tap. This is no good." Actually, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to keep tapping to reach a deeper layer, and it will ultimately be a release. But in this field that you're talking about, it's lifestyle changes. Who's had a cancer diagnosis and suddenly has to give up smoking, change their diet, stop eating sugar, whatever it is, suddenly, when those are their support systems, and they're in shock or trauma, and suddenly your support systems are being whipped away from underneath you. You've got to have some way of managing that.
Totally.
And tapping will help. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to sort it out in a nanosecond, but it's a tool that you can use to help yourself on that journey,
which I think can be absolutely just pivotal, because when you're being told that, as you say, sort of everything that you found reassuring was part of your lifestyle now can no longer be. That's not great.
And your stressors, your soothers when you're stressed. I'm not saying that it's great to have a cigarette or a glass of wine or whatever it is, but people do it, and suddenly to be told not to.
And I suppose just the thing that kind of niggles me about my health story was, at one point when I was in hospital, I was in a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and they refused to give me more painkillers. And their sort of thing was, oh, well, you might get addicted. And I respect that they made that choice on my behalf, but when I was sitting in that amount of pain, it wasn't great. When it comes to pain and painkillers and things, I mean, someone might just go and grab a paracetamol or something, whatever. But what we're kind of saying today is actually just take the time, isn't it? Take the time to sit back and think about why this pain is happening, because pain doesn't just come out of nowhere, does it? It's a response of the body to something.
But that's very difficult to do if you're in a lot of pain. I mean, when you were in pain then, and they took away pain, if I'd said to you, listen, just tap and think about the pain, you wouldn't have been able to do it. I don't think in that moment. So, but you might be able to do it now on that past experience.
Interesting.
Absolutely. What I would like to say is EFT is not offering a cure. I mean, we've talked about this before. We're not doctors. Always recommend people to seek medical advice, but then it's their choice as to how they want to proceed. I work alongside loads of consultants, particularly in the field of cancer, and doctors refer to me and things. It's not either or; it's both. Take the best of whatever's being offered, quite honestly. But it's it's not, and we'd never advise somebody to lower their painkillers or stop their antidepressants or anything like that. Absolutely not. That's got to be the medical profession in charge of that. It's about respecting what everybody's individual contribution is, really. But this is one whereby you can contribute yourself in a big way. And I've seen people come off antidepressants and actually even antipsychotic drugs, but with a psychiatrist or a doctor's monitoring them whilst they tap.
Oh wow, brilliant to hear.
So, all things are possible, but not without medical backup.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Yeah. Be sensible. Be sensible about it. But that's a wonderfully inspiring story, actually, because I know for a lot of people, I mean, the medications that you take, they might be ones that you have to take, like from my situation, my immune suppressants and things, but there are others. I mean, so often I've been offered antidepressants, and from my own experience, what I now realise is an antidepressant is like a plaster. You put it on something, it doesn't take away whatever was troubling you or giving you anxiety before. And so actually taking on a self.
But there is a place for them, though. If you've got severe depression, there's definitely a place for antidepressants whilst you do your own work or you work with somebody else. Definitely. I'm absolutely not anti-drug. I'm a doctor's daughter, apart from anything else. I'm not anti-drugs in any way, at least not medical drugs.
They are important.
But working with them. Exactly.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've probably covered everything. You're very concise and very articulate. So, wow.
Well, I had no idea what you were going to ask me, so there we go.
Throw you in the deep end. Well, I will be sharing all of the links to the EFT Centre. But just before we go, could you share with our listeners one self-care tool activity that you maybe have in your life, whether it's baths or dog walks, or I don't know, some sort of health practice?
Both of those, exercise and obviously the tapping. Yep, all of that, and and nutrition too. I think nutrition has a huge impact on your mental health. I certainly noticed that I feel more agitated if I eat a lot of sugar, whereas actually I feel perfectly calm if I keep it out of my diet. And also, it's an addiction. So not an addiction I have, but it is an addiction. I see it in people. So it's that. Just generally, I think of it as nurturing and nourishing your body in whatever way, in all ways. There's no one thing. Meditation, I'm not so good at that. It's about finding the time, but I will do it when I have to. When I find the time, I do it, and then it's great. And I think, why haven't I done this for months?
Great. Well, thank you so much. And if anyone wants to find Emma and Sue, I will be sharing links to their website. Do reach out to them. Do check out their free resources, and they're on social media where you can see wonderful examples of many, many things that they're up to and doing. And take care, Emma. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. We'll speak soon. All right.